The bedroom door stood open, and the Luna ring lay on the carpet like something discarded after a funeral. Evelyn Hart stopped beneath the carved archway, one hand still curled around the medical file from Moonrise Clinic. Inside the royal chamber, silk sheets twisted around Damen Blackwood and Serena, her younger sister. Neither of them spoke at first. The silence answered every question Evelyn had not forced herself to ask. Serena clutched the sheet to her chest, but her eyes dropped to the file before they found Evelyn's face. Damen rose quickly, his powerful body radiating command even while guilt sharpened his scent. Evelyn noticed everything. Serena's torn pearl clasp, Damien's shirt beneath the bed, the faint red mark at Serena's throat. Her wolf recoiled so violently that pain flashed behind her ribs. Yet Evelyn's expression did not break once. "Did you know she was my sister when you touched her?" Evelyn asked. Her voice was soft enough to make Damen flinch. He opened his mouth, but Serena answered first. "Evelyn, please," the counsel said. "I asked him." Damien's jaw tightened. He had faced rebellions without fear, yet now he could not meet his mate's eyes. That hesitation cut deeper than confession. Evelyn set the medical file upon the table. Damen followed her into his office and shut the door. "The royal physicians confirmed you cannot carry an heir," he said. "Silverthornne cannot survive a disputed succession." Evelyn stared at the fertility report spread across his desk. The healer's seal leaned left, an error no Moonrise document contained. Damen had commanded armies, judged traitors, and negotiated blood treaties, yet he had never asked his wife whether the report was true. "You believe this?" she asked. Damien's silence hardened into pride. The council demanded certainty. Serena offered a solution. Serena stood in the doorway, pale and watchful, one hand hidden behind her back. Evelyn understood then. Damen had not merely fallen into temptation. He had weighed her loyalty against a promised heir and decided she was replaceable. The knowledge emptied something inside her, leaving behind a calm more frightening than rage. She twisted the Luna ring from her finger. The moonstone, warm moments earlier, turned cold against her palm. Damen stepped forward. "Evelyn, stop. We will discuss this when you are rational." Her gaze lifted. "I am rational enough to understand that my title means nothing in a room where my husband bargains with my sister." She placed the ring on his forged report, covering the false seal with the crest. Damien's wolf surged. "You will remain here." The alpha command struck the room like thunder. Evelyn's mate mark burned, then split beneath her collarbone with a thin line of blood. Serena gasped, but Evelyn did not. She opened Damien's desk drawer, removed a sheet of blood-packed paper, and pressed her thumb against the silver blade kept beside it. "By ancient law," she said, "I sever what you chose to dishonor." The forest swallowed Evelyn before midnight. Snow gathered on her hair and cloak as the bond pulled backward, each step stretching agony through her chest. Behind the gates, alarms began to ring, but she never turned. She pressed one hand over her abdomen, unaware of how fiercely the unborn twins were fighting the shock. "You will not inherit this betrayal," she whispered, and crossed the boundary stone, ending Damien's command. In the royal chamber, Serena locked the door after Damen rushed to summon the guards. Her hands stopped, trembling the moment she was alone. She opened the medical file Evelyn had left behind. 2 silver circles glowed upon the page, each surrounding a tiny heartbeat. Serena read the diagnosis twice. Viable twin pregnancy, royal blood indicators present. For one breath, fear stripped every softness from her face. Then ambition returned. She carried the file to the candle beside the bed. The flame touched one corner, curling the parchment into black petals. Serena watched the first heartbeat vanish, then the second. She told herself Damen had already chosen the future Silverthornne required. Evelyn's children would only complicate what Serena deserved. Outside, the search bells thundered through the frozen night. Inside, fire climbed toward the final line of moon ink beneath Evelyn's name. "My dear friends, stories are built with words, but channels are built with trust. We know that a subscription should not be requested as though it is owed. It should be earned through consistent stories, thoughtful narration, and respect for your time. So, we will not pressure you. Instead, we simply ask you to judge us honestly. If this story has captured your attention, touched your heart, or made you curious about what happens next, please consider subscribing. And if something is missing, tell us. Your constructive words can help us become the channel you would be proud to return to. Thank you for giving a new storyteller a chance. Now, let us return to the moment where everything begins to change. Snow erased Evelyn's footprints almost as quickly as she made them. By dawn, the forest beyond Silverthornne had become a white graveyard of black trees and frozen silence. Every step away from Damien pulled at the severed mate bond inside her chest. The pain no longer felt like a single wound. It came in waves, tightening around her ribs, twisting beneath her heart, then releasing just long enough to let her breathe. Evelyn kept one hand beneath her cloak, pressed protectively over her abdomen. She did not yet understand why the pain seemed to divide itself in two. A branch cracked behind her. She turned, drawing the silver dagger from her belt. 3 Silverthornne trackers emerged between the pines, dressed in gray patrol cloaks. The man in front, Captain Jareth, had once eaten at Evelyn's table during winter councils. "My Luna," he said cautiously. "I am not your Luna." Jareth's gaze dropped to the blood severance paper clenched in her left hand. Damien's royal crest had darkened where her blood marked the ancient declaration. "You must return with us," he said. "The Alpha King has ordered an inquiry." An inquiry into his own bed? One tracker looked away. Jareth hardened his expression. "You have been accused of abandoning the crown and conspiring with Vale." Evelyn almost laughed. Serena had moved faster than she expected. When Jareth reached for her, Evelyn stepped onto the frozen lake behind her. She knew this land better than any patrolman. Years earlier, she had ordered supply maps drawn for every winter crossing. "Do not follow me," she warned. Jareth followed. Evelyn moved toward the narrow ridge where underground springs weakened the ice. The trackers spread out, believing they were surrounding her. She waited until Jareth placed his full weight near the pale blue fracture line. Then she drove the hilt of her dagger into the ice. A crack split across the lake. The trackers stumbled backward as black water erupted beneath their boots. Evelyn ran toward the western bank while they fought to remain above the breaking surface. She did not stay to watch them drown. Jareth knew the rescue drills she had written herself. She had bought minutes, nothing more. The first cramp struck before Evelyn reached Greyhaven. Her knees hit the snow. A warm wetness spread beneath her dress, and terror finally pierced the numbness, protecting her mind. "No," she whispered. She forced herself upright and staggered toward the neutral territory's stone markers. The moment she crossed between them, the remaining Alpha command snapped away. The relief lasted less than a heartbeat. Evelyn collapsed outside Moonrise Clinic. Mara Quinn found her with blood staining the snow beneath her cloak. The older healer shouted for assistance, then froze when she saw the fractured mate mark at Evelyn's collarbone. "Who severed this bond?" "I did." "While pregnant?" Evelyn's eyes opened sharply. Mara pressed a moon-glass instrument against her abdomen. 2 faint pulses flickered inside the crystal. "Twins," Mara said, "and both are in distress." For the first time since opening the bedroom door, Evelyn's control nearly failed. Her fingers closed around the severance paper. "Save them. I will try. But royal blood cannot remain hidden forever. It only needs to remain hidden long enough for them to be born free." Mara studied her face, recognizing the pride of a Luna and the terror of a mother. She placed her palm over Evelyn's bloodied hand, then invoked sanctuary. Evelyn drew one painful breath. "I, Evelyn Hart, claim protection for 3 moons under neutral law for myself and my unborn children." The clinic bells rang 3 times. At Silverthornne, Damien stood before the empty Luna chamber, while Serena described a secret correspondence between Evelyn and Vale. Council members placed a forged ledger before him, filled with payments supposedly approved in Evelyn's name. Caleb Thorne examined one signature. "This curve is wrong," he said. Evelyn never crossed the final letter. Damien barely heard him. The mate bond had gone silent, leaving a hollow pressure inside his chest that no alpha strength could command away. "She will return," he said. Serena lowered her eyes. Unless she was never running alone. That evening, a raven arrived at Moonrise Clinic, carrying a black envelope sealed with the silver wolf of Vale. Mara broke the wax while Evelyn watched from the bed. Inside was a single sentence. "King Ronan Vale accepts responsibility for the woman carrying royal blood. King Ronan Vale arrived at Greyhaven before sunrise. He did not bring an army. He brought 1 black carriage, 6 Frostvale guards, and a woman with a scar across her mouth, who introduced herself as Tamsin Reed, his chief of intelligence. Mara Quinn led them into the clinic's council room. Evelyn sat near the window with a blanket around her shoulders, her severance paper folded beside the black royal seal from Ronan's letter. She looked pale, but when the Frostvale king entered, she rose. Ronan was taller than Damien, though less polished. His dark coat carried snow along the shoulders, and an old knife scar crossed the back of his right hand. His presence filled the room without the crushing force of an alpha command. His gray eyes moved from Evelyn's fractured mate mark to the bloodless curve of her mouth. "You should be in bed," he said. "You should not have accepted responsibility for a woman you have never met." A faint line appeared between his brows. Tamsin almost smiled. Ronan placed a grain report on the table. 2 years ago, someone sent Frostvale a coded warning about poisoned winter wheat. 3 villages survived because of it. Evelyn recognized the document immediately. Ronan watched that recognition pass across her face. "The person who wrote this used the same substitution pattern hidden inside your sanctuary petition," he continued. "So, I will ask 3 questions." Evelyn remained standing. "How much grain can Frostvale lose before spring?" 17%, if the eastern storehouses are rationed first. "Which pass would Silverthornne use to invade?" The obvious answer is Wolf's Spine. The correct answer is the abandoned salt road beneath Ashen Ridge. "And why should I trust you?" Evelyn's fingers tightened around the blanket. "You should not," she said. "Not yet." For the first time, Ronan's expression softened. "Good answer." Tamsin did not share his approval. "She served beside Damen Blackwood for 7 years," she said. "She knows his troops, his codes, and our weakest borders. She may be exactly what she claims, or she may be the most expensive spy Silverthornne has ever sent." Evelyn met her stare. "A spy would not arrive bleeding. A committed one might." Ronan placed 2 documents before Evelyn. The first offered 3 months of protected residence in Greyhaven under neutral supervision. The second granted entry into Frostvale as a temporary civil advisor under sanctuary oath. "No Luna title," Ronan said. "No marriage bargain. No debt of obedience." Evelyn read every line. Then she picked up a pen and crossed out a sentence. Tamsin's scar pulled sharply. "What are you doing?" "This clause gives Frostvale authority over any child born during sanctuary. It is standard language. It is unlawful language." Ronan leaned over the document. Evelyn had rewritten the clause, so guardianship remained with the mother unless a neutral court proved direct harm. "You correct royal contracts while half-conscious?" he asked. "I correct dangerous contracts whenever I find them." His mouth shifted, not quite becoming a smile. Tamsin looked between them. "She could still be manipulating you. She just removed my legal access to 2 royal heirs," Ronan said. "If that is manipulation, it is unusually inconvenient." Evelyn signed the revised oath. Before Ronan added his name, she pushed the blood severance paper across the table. "Damien has not accepted this." Ronan read the dried signature and the mark where Alpha Command had split her mate bond. "Acceptance is irrelevant under neutral law," he said. "But it means he may try to call you back." "I know." "No," Ronan replied quietly. "You know what he was. You do not yet know what a frightened king may become." They left Greyhaven beneath a sky heavy with snow. Halfway through Ashen Mountain Pass, Silverthornne trackers appeared above the road. Their arrows struck the lead carriage, forcing the horses sideways. Tamsin drew her sword. Ronan shifted his weight, preparing to order a charge. "Do not fight them here," Evelyn said. Ronan looked at the cliffs. "They have the height, and the wrong map." She directed the convoy toward a narrow ravine hidden behind frozen cedar branches. It was an abandoned supply route Evelyn had marked years earlier, but never entered into Silverthorne's official records. The passage cut beneath the ridge and opened beyond the tracker's position. When they emerged on Frostvale soil, the guards stared at Evelyn differently. Ronan did too. She had not survived because a king rescued her. She had just saved his entire escort. At the border monument, Ronan pressed his royal seal into the frost-covered stone to activate the sanctuary ward. Evelyn's moonstone pendant slipped from beneath her cloak. The pendant flared silver. An unfamiliar crescent symbol appeared inside the black seal. Ronan's face lost all trace of amusement. He stepped closer, staring at the ancient mark. That is not a Luna symbol, Evelyn. It is the seal of a royal bloodline that died 300 years ago. The storm reached Vale on the night Evelyn went into labor. Wind battered the fortress windows, while lightning split the mountain sky into white fractures. Evelyn had carried the twins for 34 weeks, surviving bond fever, blood loss, and the constant fear that Damien might discover them before they took their first breaths. Now she lay in the birthing chamber, gripping Mara Quinn's wrist as another contraction tore through her. "The first child is coming," Mara said. "But the second heartbeat is weakening." Outside the closed door, Ronan stood motionless beneath the torchlight. He had commanded battlefields without hesitation, yet every cry from inside the chamber tightened his hands into fists. Tamsin watched him from the wall. "She told you to stay out." "I heard her." Another cry came, followed by a baby's thin, furious wail. A boy. Relief barely touched Ronan before Mara shouted for hot water. The second child was born moments later, silent and blue beneath the candlelight. Evelyn lifted her head from the pillows. "Why isn't she crying?" Mara rubbed the infant's back, then pressed 2 fingers beneath the tiny ribs. "Nothing." Ronan opened the door. Evelyn's eyes flashed. "I told you. She needs more hands," he said. He did not take control. He did not issue an alpha command. He knelt beside Mara and followed every instruction she gave him. He warmed the child between his palms while Evelyn, weak and shaking, whispered how to clear the newborn's lungs. "Again," Evelyn ordered. Ronan breathed gently into the infant's mouth. A fragile cough broke the silence. Then the little girl screamed. Evelyn's body sagged with relief as tears finally escaped her eyes. Ronan placed the child against her chest beside her brother, then stepped back before tenderness could become a claim. At sunrise, he brought 2 moonstone pendants into the chamber. Before Mara and the Frostvale witnesses, Ronan cut his palm and let his blood touch the stones. "I invoke the law of the second hearth," he said. "I will protect Rowan and Lyra Hart without erasing their blood, demanding their crown, or claiming ownership of their mother." Evelyn studied him for a long moment. Then she allowed the pendants to be placed around her children's necks. 5 winters passed. Rowan grew into a quiet boy who preferred maps to wooden swords. Lyra climbed furniture, questioned every healer, and once informed Ronan that his council chair was too dramatic for a sensible king. Ronan had not laughed during a council meeting in 12 years. He laughed then. He never asked the twins to call him father. Rowan chose the word after Ronan remained beside his bed through a 3-day fever. Lyra followed several months later after Ronan let her stitch a shallow wound in his arm, despite Mara's horrified objections. Evelyn built a life that did not depend upon his affection. Using Frostvale's neglected census records, she reorganized grain distribution, reopened 3 mountain storehouses, and created winter kitchens for widows and orphaned children. By the twins' 5th birthday, the woman who had entered Frostvale as a bleeding exile had become chief civil strategist. Ronan loved her. He knew it when she challenged him in council, when she corrected military budgets in the margins, and when she fell asleep at the library table with Lyra curled against her side. But he never used protection as a price. Evelyn's heart softened toward him slowly, painfully. Each act of kindness reminded her how easily Damien could have chosen differently. The Frostvale Council tested her loyalty during the first winter shortage. Elder Corvin slammed a ledger onto the stone table. "A Silverthornne woman should not control our grain." Evelyn opened the book without reacting. "You are correct," she said. "No outsider should control it." Corvin smiled too soon. "That is why every shipment should be audited." She turned the ledger toward the council. 3 delivery seals had been duplicated. 40 wagons of grain had supposedly reached northern villages that had received nothing. The payment authorization carried Corvin's mark. His smile disappeared. "You forged this." Evelyn placed the original warehouse records beside the ledger. "Then your own quartermasters forged it with remarkable consistency." Several council members shifted away from Corvin. Ronan remained silent. He did not defend Evelyn or crush the room with royal authority. He simply ordered the evidence examined. By sunset, Corvin had confessed. Later, in the empty hall, Rowan climbed onto Ronan's vacant council chair while Lyra chased him around the table. "Come down," Evelyn warned. Rowan touched the black crown resting beside the royal seal. Silver light flashed across the chamber. A black and silver mark spread around his wrist, the unmistakable crest of the Blackwood bloodline. Ronan stared at the child he had raised. For the first time in 5 years, he understood that Damien's lost heirs could no longer remain hidden. 5 years after Evelyn disappeared, Silverthornne began to starve. The shortage did not arrive like an invasion. It crept in quietly, one delayed wagon, one empty healer's cabinet, one village requesting emergency grain. By the time the first northern pack refused its winter tax, the damage had spread through the kingdom like rot beneath polished wood. Damien stood at the head of the council table, staring at 3 open pack ledgers. These numbers cannot be correct. No one answered. The grain reserves Evelyn had once maintained were nearly empty. 2 trading packs had withdrawn from the alliance. The network of village healers she had organized had collapsed after months without payment. Elder Gideon Voss folded his hands over his stomach. The former Luna left the system deliberately dependent upon her. Damien's wolf stirred with anger, but the accusation felt wrong. Evelyn had never built anything to fail without her. She had written instructions for every process, trained replacements, and left emergency routes marked in red ink. Damien remembered mocking the thickness of her winter manuals. Now no one in the room understood them. Serena sat in the Luna's chair beside him, wearing the ancestral ring. The black-silver band looked too heavy on her hand. Its moonstone remained dull, as cold as it had been during every ceremony for 5 years. Damien's gaze settled on it. "Why has the ring never recognized you?" Serena covered it with her other hand. "Ancient relics are unpredictable." It recognized Evelyn. A sharp silence entered the chamber. Serena forced a wounded smile, perhaps because she wore it longer. Damien looked at the ledgers again, but the neat columns blurred. For years he had told himself Evelyn had abandoned her duty. Yet every page before him proved she had been the duty holding Silverthornne together. And he had replaced her with a promise that had produced neither an heir nor a functioning kingdom. That evening, Damien entered the Royal Medical Archive without announcing himself. Serena found him opening sealed fertility records. "What are you doing?" Finding certainty. Color drained from her face before she concealed it. Gideon Voss stepped through the doorway behind her. "My king, reopening former Luna Evelyn's case could damage the crown. The packs already question your succession. They question it because I have no heir." Serena's fingers tightened around the Luna ring. "You said you would never humiliate me like this." Damien turned slowly. 5 years ago, I was told Evelyn could not carry children. You were presented as the solution, yet you have never conceived, and the ring has never accepted you. I lost our first child. There had been no body, no burial, only a physician's statement and Serena's tears. "Then I want the original records," Damien said. Gideon's voice hardened. "The kingdom needs unity, not an investigation into old grief." For the first time, Damien heard the warning beneath the advice. Near the archive entrance, Caleb Thorne stood unnoticed in shadow. While Damien and Gideon argued, Caleb removed a small security crystal from a locked evidence drawer. Its surface briefly reflected Serena, exchanging 2 medical files with the royal healer. Caleb closed his fist around it. He had questioned Evelyn's signature 5 years ago. He had allowed Damien's anger to silence him. He would not make that mistake again. 3 days later, Damien attended the Northern Trade Summit through a security projection in the war room. Frostvale's winter festival filled the crystal screen with firelight, music, and children racing across a snow-covered square. Damien watched without interest until King Ronan Vale appeared among the crowd. Ronan was not wearing a crown. A dark-haired boy sat on his shoulders, one hand tangled in the king's hair. A little girl walked beside them, holding Ronan's gloved hand, while speaking with the absolute confidence of someone certain she would be heard. Then Evelyn stepped into view. The room inside Damien went silent. She looked stronger than he remembered. Her hair was longer, silver threaded through her dark cloak. She was laughing at something the girl had said. Ronan turned toward her with an expression Damien recognized immediately. It was not possession. It was home. Damien leaned closer to the projection. The boy on Ronan's shoulders looked toward the recording crystal. His eyes flashed gold-black. Damien stopped breathing. That exact color had appeared in his own eyes during his first shift. The same sharp brow, the same slight tilt of the head when studying a threat. A violent pulse struck Damien beneath the ribs. Royal blood answered, royal blood. The silver cup in his hand collapsed under his grip, cutting his palm. Blood ran between his fingers, but he barely noticed. The girl turned next. A crescent-shaped light briefly appeared near her neck before Evelyn adjusted the child's scarf. Twins. Damien counted backward through the years and felt the truth close around his throat. Evelyn had been carrying his children when she crossed the border. Ronan lifted the boy down, and the child immediately reached for his hand. "Father," he said. The word passed clearly through the projection. Damien stared at the frozen image of the son who bore his eyes and another king's trust. Then he turned to Caleb. "Find out exactly when those children were born." Sen. The sealed blood registry opened only beneath moonlight. Mara Quinn placed the black glass tablet on the archive table, while Evelyn stood between Ronan and Tamsin. Rowan and Lyra were asleep 2 floors above, guarded by 6 Frostvale wolves who had been ordered not to frighten them. The tablet contained 3 drops of blood, Evelyn's, Rowan's, and Lyra's. Mara pressed Evelyn's moonstone pendant against its center. Silver lines spread across the glass. The Blackwood crest appeared first, a wolf crowned with thorns. Beneath it rose another symbol, a crescent divided by a vertical blade. Ronan's expression tightened. Evelyn looked at him. "You recognize it?" Mara answered before he could. "The mark belongs to the Moon Arbiters." Evelyn stared at the symbol. The Moon Arbiters had disappeared 3 centuries earlier after judging the last king who tried to enslave smaller packs through blood oaths. History claimed their line had ended. Mara turned the tablet toward her. "It did not end. It passed through your mother." 2 smaller crescents glowed beneath the first, one belonging to each child. "Rowan and Lyra carry Blackwood royal blood through Damien," Mara continued. "Through you, they carry the authority to invoke sovereign trial." Evelyn's mouth went dry. "They are 5. The law does not require them to deliver judgment," Mara said. "Their blood allows the trial to exist. An adult Moon Arbiter heir may represent them." Every eye settled on Evelyn. For 5 years, she had hidden her children from a throne. Now she had learned they possessed the power to bring that throne down. Ronan waited until Mara and Tamsin left before speaking. "I suspected your bloodline the day your pendant reacted to my seal." Evelyn turned slowly. "You suspected?" "The symbol was incomplete. I needed proof." "And you decided I did not?" His silence became the wrong answer. Anger moved through Evelyn with terrible clarity. Damien had believed false evidence without asking her. Ronan had found dangerous evidence and hidden it from her. Different intentions did not erase the familiar theft of choice. "You knew my children might be connected to an ancient royal court, and you said nothing. I knew that if Frostvale's elders discovered it, they might use you against Silverthornne. So you protected me by deciding what I was allowed to know." Ronan absorbed the accusation without retreating. "Yes." The admission struck harder than an excuse. He removed a key from his neck and placed it on the table. Then he added the sealed registry, every intelligence report concerning Silverthornne, and the parchment containing his second hearth oath. "This opens the restricted archive," he said. "The registry belongs to you. You may dissolve my oath before witnesses tonight." Evelyn looked at the parchment. "If I dissolve it, you lose legal protection over Rowan and Lyra." "Yes. And if Damien comes, I will protect them, because they are children under my roof, not because a law says they belong to me." His voice remained controlled, but fear moved beneath it. Ronan had faced wars without showing weakness. The possibility of losing his place in the twins' lives terrified him. He still did not reach for Evelyn. That mattered. She opened the intelligence reports. Every page showed the same thing. Ronan had preserved the children's true bloodline while sealing it from both kingdoms. He had never listed himself as their biological father. He had never altered their birth names. Evelyn's anger remained, but it changed shape. "You should have told me." "I should have." There was no defense, only responsibility. Before Evelyn could answer, the archive doors opened. Tamsin entered carrying a silver tube marked with the Blackwood royal seal. "Silverthorne's messenger crossed the border under neutral protection," she said. "Damien has filed a paternity claim." The summons named Rowan and Lyra as possible heirs to the Silverthornne throne. Damien requested a formal blood hearing before the Crown Council. He also demanded recognition of his right to meet the children. Ronan read the document once and passed it to Evelyn. "He is not asking for custody yet." "Because he does not need to," she replied. The final clause invoked succession law. If the twins were registered as Blackwood heirs, The council could place them under royal guardianship until adulthood. Evelyn imagined Rowan being trained as a weapon, and Lyra being educated as a future bargaining piece. Her wolf rose beneath her skin. "We refuse," Ronan said. Evelyn shook her head. "Then they accuse Frostvale of hiding royal heirs. Gideon gets the war he wants. You are not returning to Silverthornne alone. I am not returning as the woman who ran." She placed the Moon Arbiter registry beside Damien's summons. For 5 years, survival had meant distance, secrecy, and locked doors. Those protections had reached their limit. Evelyn would not let Damien or Ronan decide the next move for her. She would stand before the council herself. Then her eyes reached the final sentence. If the children failed to appear at the hearing, Frostvale would be formally charged with abducting the heirs of Silverthornne. The Luna ring began burning Serena before Damien asked his first question. She stood inside the royal dressing chamber, while servants fitted the silver coronation gown around her waist. 5 years of waiting had led to this ceremony. Once crowned, she believed no medical record, missing sister, or hidden child could remove her. Then Damien entered and dismissed every servant. He placed the coronation decree on the table between them. "Did you know Evelyn was pregnant when she left?" Serena forced her expression into wounded disbelief. "How could I have known something you did not?" Damien watched her too carefully. The alpha who once accepted every tremble and lowered gaze had disappeared. In his place stood a king, studying a suspect. "I found gaps in the medical archive," he said. Her fertility report was replaced. Serena covered the Luna ring with her other hand. Heat pulsed beneath the moonstone. "Evelyn always kept secrets. Answer the question." "No." Damien lifted the succession bowl from the table. By tradition, the Luna ring had to recognize the royal line before coronation. Serena had delayed the ritual for years with illness, mourning, and fabricated pregnancies. She had no excuse left. Damien held out his hand. "Place the ring inside." Serena obeyed. The moment the moonstone touched the silver bowl, blue fire erupted around her fingers. She screamed and pulled back. Blisters rose across her skin. The ring remained in the bowl, cold and dark. Damien's face hardened. "A true Luna is never burned by the crown." Serena pressed her injured hand against her gown. Fear stripped the softness from her voice. "You slept with me willingly." "Yes," Damien said. "That is the guilt I will carry. But whatever you did afterward belongs to you." For the first time, Serena understood that Damien's shame no longer protected her. It made him dangerous. Caleb Thorne left Silverthornne before dawn. The security crystal was hidden beneath the lining of his coat, wrapped in silver cloth to prevent royal trackers from sensing its magic. He had watched its contents 3 times. Each viewing made his failure harder to bear. The crystal showed Serena entering the medical archive with Gideon Voss. It showed the royal healer receiving a pouch of silver. It showed Serena exchanging Evelyn's authentic fertility report for the false one Damien had read. The final image was worse. Serena stood alone in the royal bedroom on the night Evelyn disappeared, holding a Moonrise medical file. 2 silver heartbeats glowed clearly upon the page. She had known. Caleb crossed the eastern border using an abandoned patrol route Evelyn had designed years earlier. Silverthornne guards found him before sunset, but several still remembered the former Luna who had secured food for their families. They looked the other way. At Frostvale's outer gate, Tamsin Reed met Caleb with 12 armed wolves. "Remove your weapons." He dropped his sword and dagger into the snow. "I need to speak with Evelyn." "You need a trial." "I expect one." Tamsin searched his coat and found the crystal. Caleb did not resist when Frostvale chains closed around his wrists. "Tell her," he said. "I brought the truth 5 years too late." That same evening, Rowan and Lyra were moved into Frostvale's protected nursery wing. Evelyn had refused Ronan's request for soldiers inside the room. "They are children," she said. "I will not make them sleep inside a prison." Ronan disagreed, but he respected her decision. 2 guards remained outside, while Tamsin positioned patrols along the courtyard. The attack came through the ceiling. 3 wolves wearing Frostvale uniforms dropped from an old ventilation passage. Their scents had been masked with wolfsbane oil. One seized Rowan. Another reached for Lyra. Lyra screamed and drove her moonstone pendant into the attacker's face. Silver light exploded across the room, burning his skin. Rowan bit the hand covering his mouth and kicked backward exactly as Ronan had taught him. Tamsin broke through the door seconds later. Her blade struck the first rogue across the shoulder. The second shifted, but Evelyn entered behind her and buried a chair leg into his knee before he completed the transformation. The third attacker escaped through the window. Rowan ran to Ronan when he arrived. Lyra went directly to Evelyn, trembling but refusing to cry. On the nursery floor lay a silver dagger engraved with frost veil markings. Tamsin examined it and shook her head. The crest is false. She turned the blade over. Beneath the handle was the smaller mark of Silverthorne's royal armory. Evelyn looked at her children and understood that secrecy could no longer protect them. From that night forward, Rowan and Lyra helped design their own emergency routes, signals, and safe rooms. They would be protected, but they would not be kept ignorant. Before midnight, Tamsin brought Caleb into the council chamber. His wrists remained chained. He placed the security crystal before Evelyn and lowered his head. Your sister knew about the twins before Damien did. Silverthorne's gates opened at noon. 5 years earlier, Evelyn had crossed them alone in a thin cloak, bleeding from a shattered mate bond. Now she returned beneath the banners of Frostvale, wearing no Luna crown and carrying no weapon. 7 royal seals rested inside the black case beneath her arm. King Ronan Vale walked beside her, but he did not offer his hand or step ahead to announce her. This was Evelyn's return. He would not turn it into his conquest. The great hall fell silent when she entered. Damien stood beneath the Blackwood throne. His face remained controlled until Rowan and Lyra appeared behind Tamsin. Then the Alpha King's composure fractured. Rowan possessed Damien's dark hair and watchful stillness. Lyra carried the same gold-black eyes, though hers held none of his recognition. The blood bond moved through Damien with enough force to stop his breath. "My children," he whispered. Rowan immediately moved closer to Ronan. Lyra looked up at Evelyn. "Is that him?" "Yes," Evelyn answered. She neither softened the truth nor sharpened it into a weapon. Damien descended 1 step from the throne. Ronan's aura rose, but Evelyn lifted 2 fingers. He stopped. Damien noticed. Another king possessed enough power to challenge him in his own hall, yet still respected Evelyn's smallest boundary. The comparison struck more deeply than any insult. Serena watched from beside the Luna's chair, her burned hand hidden beneath a silver glove. She had spent 5 years preparing to replace Evelyn. Yet when the former Luna walked into the hall, every wolf turned toward her, as though the true center of Silverthorne had finally returned. Damien requested a private meeting before the hearing. Evelyn agreed, but she pressed the Moon Arbiter seal against the chamber door before entering. Silver light traveled through the wood, recording every word spoken inside. Damien noticed the mark. "You think I would lie about this conversation? I think trust without evidence is a mistake I have already made once." He accepted the blow. For several seconds, he simply looked at her. Time had changed Evelyn. The woman before him did not carry her strength like armor anymore. It had become part of her bones. "I searched for you," he said. "You searched after the bond went silent, not after you chose my sister." His jaw tightened. "I know what I did." "Do you?" Damien stepped closer, stopping before she could tell him to. "They are my children, Evelyn. They carry your blood. They are Blackwood heirs. They are Rowan and Lyra before they are heirs to anything." Pain crossed his face. "I should have known. You should have asked whether the medical report was true. You should have trusted the woman who had stood beside you for 7 years. You should not need children to understand that betraying me was wrong." Damien lowered his gaze. "I want an opportunity to know them." Evelyn remembered Ronan beside Rowan's sickbed, changing wet cloths until dawn. She remembered him letting Lyra sew his arm, because the child wanted to feel useful. Damien had contributed blood. Ronan had contributed 5 years. "That opportunity is not mine to give," she said. "When they are old enough, they will decide. I am their father." "Then begin acting like one by respecting their right to feel safe." Damien's wolf fought against the answer. The king in him wanted to command, claim, and restore what had been lost. But Evelyn was no longer bound to obey him. She opened the door and left him standing alone. The great hall was filled before sunset. 7 sovereign representatives occupied the upper gallery. Frostvale's black seal rested beside the emblems of Greyhaven, Ironcrest, Northmoor, Red Hollow, White River, and Ashen Ridge. Evelyn placed all 7 upon the judgment table. Serena entered, wearing her unfinished coronation gown. "This is an invasion disguised as justice," she declared. Evelyn abandoned Silverthornne and allowed Ronan Vale to steal its heirs. Murmurs spread through the hall. Evelyn opened the black case. Inside lay the security crystal, the original medical record, the Moon Arbiter registry, and the blood severance paper. "No one stole my children," she said. "They were protected from those who concealed their existence." Serena lifted her chin. "You returned because you want the throne. I returned because you threatened my family." At a signal from the chief arbiter, a guard carried the ancestral Luna ring into the hall. It rested on a silver tray, its moonstone lifeless. Serena's breathing changed. The ring had rejected her during every private ritual, but never before the entire kingdom. As the guard passed Evelyn, the moonstone flickered. The ring rose from the tray. Gasps erupted as it crossed the judgment table and landed before Evelyn, glowing with a fierce blue light. She touched it with one finger. A pulse echoed through the great hall. Then another answered. 2 tiny heartbeats, preserved within the moonstone for 5 years, filled the chamber where Damien had once declared Evelyn barren. Serena staggered backward. Damien closed his eyes as the truth became impossible to deny. And before the final heartbeat faded, the Luna ring projected Serena's hand, burning Evelyn's pregnancy record into the air above the throne. The image above the throne vanished, leaving Serena's burned pregnancy record reflected in every horrified face. Chief Arbiter Helena Ward raised the crown law scroll. "No one leaves this hall until the sovereign trial is complete." The doors locked. Mara Quinn stepped forward first. She placed Evelyn's original medical file beside the Luna ring and opened it beneath the 7 royal seals. Moon ink rose from the parchment, forming the date Evelyn had visited Moonrise Clinic. 2 silver heartbeats appeared. Evelyn Hart was carrying viable royal twins before she left Silverthornne, Mara said. Her official infertility diagnosis was false. Gideon Voss stood sharply. "A neutral healer cannot accuse the Crown Council without proof." Caleb Thorne moved into the center of the hall. He placed the security crystal on the judgment table. The first image showed Serena entering the medical archive with Evelyn's authentic report. The second showed Gideon handing the royal healer a pouch of silver. The third showed Serena replacing Evelyn's file with a forged document. The final recording revealed Serena alone in Damien's chamber, watching Evelyn's pregnancy report burn. Serena's face collapsed. "She would have taken everything from me," she whispered. "Evelyn was always chosen first. You took her husband, her title, and nearly her children," Evelyn said. "Do not call greed survival." The royal healer was dragged before the court. Under Moon Arbiter oath, he confessed that Serena had never carried Damien's child. Her pregnancy symptoms had been created with herbs, while Gideon used the false heir to delay scrutiny of the treasury. Evelyn opened the pack ledger. 43,000 silver crowns disappeared from civilian relief funds during Serena's false pregnancy. She turned the page toward the sovereign representatives. Every payment carried Gideon's seal. The council elder looked toward Damien. "My king, this woman is destroying Silverthornne." Damien's voice was cold. "No, she is showing us what we allowed it to become." When Damien entered the witness circle, the entire hall seemed to hold its breath. He could blame Gideon. He could claim Serena had seduced him, that the council had deceived him, or that his duty to produce an heir had left him no choice. Evelyn expected him to try. Damien placed one hand upon the crown law scroll. "I was deceived about Evelyn's fertility," he said. "But no false report forced me into Serena's bed." Serena stared at him. Damien continued. "I chose secrecy over honesty. I chose the council's approval over my mate's dignity. When Evelyn tried to leave, I used an alpha command against her. I felt her bond fracture, and I still allowed pride to tell me she would return." His voice roughened, but he did not look away from the court. "I did not lose my family because Ronan Vale stole them. I lost them because I treated loyalty as something I owned." The admission moved through the Silverthornne wolves like a blade. Gideon's remaining allies lowered their eyes. Evelyn felt no triumph. There was only the quiet recognition that Damien had finally spoken the truth when it could no longer purchase her forgiveness. Chief Arbiter Helena looked toward the twins. "The council claims Blackwood blood gives Silverthornne guardianship over Rowan and Lyra." Ronan stepped forward. "If either child freely chooses Damien, Frostvale will not prevent that relationship." The words cost him. Evelyn saw it in the stillness of his hands. "But no crown," Ronan continued. "We'll remove them from their mother, or force them to exchange the father who raised them for the man whose blood they carry." Rowan walked into the witness circle holding Lyra's hand. Damien lowered himself to one knee, making his body smaller before them. Rowan studied his face. "Did you look for our mother because you loved her?" Damien swallowed. "Or because you found out we were heirs?" No answer came. The silence was not cowardice this time. It was the only honest response Damien possessed. Lyra moved closer to Ronan and wrapped her fingers around his hand. "He stayed when I was sick," she said. "He knows I hate honey medicine. Do you know that?" Damien's eyes shone. "No. You may learn someday," Lyra said. "But you cannot take us." Evelyn's instinct was to step forward, to shield them from the weight of the hall. She stopped herself. This was their voice. Rowan and Lyra's moon arbiter marks ignited simultaneously. Silver light traveled across the floor, encircling the throne, the council table, and Damien's kneeling form. Chief Arbiter Helena broke the wax seal on the verdict scroll. "By blood, testimony, and ancient crown law, this court has reached its judgment." She looked directly at Evelyn. "The fate of Damen Blackwood's throne will be decided by the woman he once denied the right to choose." The verdict scroll remained open between Evelyn and the Blackwood throne. Chief Arbiter Helena Ward waited while every wolf in the great hall watched Evelyn. Damien stood inside the silver circle created by the twins' moon arbiter marks. For the first time in his reign, no title protected him from the consequences of his choices. Evelyn looked at the throne she had once helped preserve. "I do not ask for Damen Blackwood's death," she said. "Death would end his punishment too quickly." A murmur moved through the hall. She turned toward Gideon Voss. "I ask that every council member involved in falsifying medical records, stealing relief funds, and concealing royal heirs be removed from office and tried under civilian law." Frostvale guards closed around Gideon before he could reach the side doors. The former elder shouted that Silverthornne would collapse without him, but no one answered. Serena stood beside the judgment table in her unfinished coronation gown. Chief Arbiter Helena read her sentence aloud. Serena was stripped of the acting Luna title, removed from the Hart family registry, and forbidden from entering any royal pack. Every property purchased with stolen council money would be returned to the villages that had gone hungry. Her final sentence placed her under permanent supervision at a border clinic. Serena laughed bitterly. "You are sending me to serve nameless people?" Evelyn met her eyes. "You wanted a life outside my shadow. Now you will have one where my name cannot open or close a single door for you." The Luna ring slid from the table and stopped before Evelyn. She did not put it on. Damien approached the judgment table without his crown. He signed the permanent mate's severance first. The moment his blood touched the parchment, the last thread between him and Evelyn dissolved. Pain struck them both, but Evelyn remained standing. Damien's hand shook as he signed the second decree. It renounced compulsory blood claim over Rowan and Lyra. The third document recognized Ronan Vale as their lawful hearthfather and confirmed that any future relationship with Damien would depend upon the children's free consent. Damien looked toward the twins. Rowan stood beside Ronan, holding the edge of his coat. Lyra held Evelyn's hand. "I am sorry," Damien said. The words were not directed only at Evelyn. "I am sorry I learned your names after another man had already learned your fears, your illnesses, and the stories you ask for at night." Rowan studied him with the solemn expression that mirrored Damien's own childhood face. "Will you try to take us later?" "No." Damien's voice broke, but he did not look away. "If you decide you never want to see me again, I will obey." Lyra tilted her head. "That is what father does. He listens when we say no." Ronan's eyes briefly closed. Damien removed the Blackwood crown and placed it beside the signed decrees. Under ancient crown law, an alpha who abused a mate bond and concealed lawful heirs could not continue as sovereign. Silverthornne would be governed by an interim council until its packs elected new leadership. Damien stepped down from the dais alone. Evelyn had once imagined that seeing him lose everything would heal her. It did not. Healing had begun years earlier, in a northern fortress where 2 newborn children survived a storm, and a king promised to protect them without claiming ownership. Frostvale welcomed them home beneath falling snow. Ronan had prepared no coronation, no public proposal, and no expectation that Evelyn would remain beside him. He met her in the quiet council chamber, where Rowan's Blackwood mark had first appeared. "You are free," he said. "The children are safe. You do not owe me a crown, a bond, or love, because I stood with you." Evelyn placed a parchment on the table. It was a crown oath written in her own hand. The document named them equal sovereigns. Neither could use Alpha Command against the other. Evelyn would retain independent authority over civilian law, sanctuary houses, and the children's guardianship. Either could leave the Union without losing rank or property. Ronan read every line. "You corrected my contract again. This one had more serious errors." A quiet smile touched his face. Evelyn stepped closer and placed her hand over his. "I am not choosing you because Damien failed," she said. "I am choosing you because you never required me to fail before you respected me." Ronan signed. The old Luna ring was melted the following spring. Its black silver became two small moonstone pendants, one for Rowan and one for Lyra. Evelyn refused to let the symbol become another chain passed from one woman to the next. Within a year, sanctuary houses opened across the Northern Territories, protecting mothers, rejected mates, and children threatened by royal blood claims. Damien wrote to the twins, but never arrived without permission. Before Rowan and Lyra's first shift ceremony, his latest letter came sealed with the former Blackwood crest. Rowan placed it on the breakfast table. "Can he come?" Evelyn looked at Ronan. Ronan looked back without answering for them. She pushed the unopened letter toward her children. "Your blood tells you where you came from," she said. "It does not decide who you must become." Then Evelyn stepped away from the table and allowed Rowan and Lyra to choose whether the man who gave them life had earned the right to witness the lives another king had helped them build. So, this is where Evelyn's story closes. Are you still here with me? Then maybe this story touched something familiar, the pain of being betrayed by someone you trusted, misunderstood by people who should have known your heart, and forced to walk away while others expected you to beg. But Evelyn did not beg. She hurt. She lost sleep. She carried fear, anger, and 2 unborn children across a frozen border. Still, she protected the one thing betrayal could not take unless she surrendered it: her dignity. That may be the quiet lesson here. You cannot control who lies about you, who chooses someone else, or who understands your worth too late. You can control whether their choices become your identity. You can leave the room. You can stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You can build a life where love does not require humiliation as an entrance fee. And no, choosing yourself does not mean becoming cold. It means becoming careful about who gets access to your heart, and perhaps making them fill out a very detailed application first. If Evelyn's choice spoke to you, comment one word below: dignity. And if this story stayed with you, leave a like, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more stories about women who chose themselves without losing their hearts.